Italian Football Podcast.
So let's start off with the Wednesday evening matches, and let's start off with Inter, who win 2-0 at Ajax. The response you wanted from Inter, Nima, after losing 2 games in a row to, especially losing to your bitter rivals, Juventus. And it was a reasonably comfortable win for Inter. Takes the pressure off Cristian Chivu. But really the biggest story was the performance of Marcus Thuram, who scores twice, 2 bullet headers from corners. There's an image that's going round of him in the air, hanging in the air like Cristiano Ronaldo against Sampdoria or Victor Osimhen during his Napoli days. I mean, this guy is becoming an absolute beast now in the air as well, isn't he, Nima?
He keeps improving and developing his game, and he looks fresher, lighter on his feet. He looks rested. He looks fit, and he's becoming even more important as an aerial threat as well. More well-rounded and complete. This game. I've kind of there's a couple of there's quite a few talking points I want to talk about, both positive and negative. Let's start with the positive stuff. And
let's start with Thuram.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's start with the positive stuff, and that is Marcus Thuram. Marcus Thuram, now that Lautaro's got this minor injury and looks a bit like off it, it's so important for Inter to have someone like Marcus Thuram that is a handful, he's strong in the air, aerial threat, he's dribbler, he's fast. He's one of the few at Inter who is a dribbler, who is fast, who can beat his man. He's great at holding. His hold-up game is very good. His finishing has improved, even though I think there's still quite a margin of improvement, margini di miglioramento, as they say in Italy. He's becoming more and more important for Inter, and I have to say his attitude as well. Like I'm starting to think maybe he is right, and I think people misunderstood what happened on Saturday rather against Juve when he was laughing and smiling with his brother. And he didn't celebrate the goal. He didn't celebrate these goals either, but he can't say that he wasn't switched on and turned on. I think he's maybe not taking things as hard and difficult in life in general. I get the sense that it's a much more relaxed and mature Marcus Thuram, and he needs to kind of just be a little bit like that in terms of to be happy, because the attitude, the atteggiamento, you can't complain about that. He was very switched on. All of Inter were very concentrated, very, very, very concentrated, and that is kind of, I think that was the part which I feel he embodied the most. He was very cool. He was very concentrated, very in control of his emotions. He got a yellow card for accidentally elbowing or hitting what's his name, Ajax player in the face whose name eludes me, but he didn't get. He got a penalty taken away from him for pulling the shirt. No, not him nor the rest of Inter got destabilized, annoyed by that. There was no, throwing up the air and throwing hands up in the air and arguing, and there was none of that. They were concentrated. They were very cool, concentrated, professional, and I like that. I like to see when Inter are focused on the job, focused on what they have to do. And I think nobody embodied that better than Marcus Thuram yesterday.
Let me ask you this then, Nima. Lautaro was missing the game. He possibly for a little precaution, little injury. Obviously, he played really badly against Juventus. Maybe he was carrying something. Maybe it was just tiredness from the international games, coming back from South America late. Anyway, he didn't play against Ajax. Pio Esposito played alongside Thuram, which we'll talk about Pio in a little bit. But Thuram now, is he Inter's most irreplaceable player? And is Thuram now more important than Lautaro Martinez in this Inter team?
It's an interesting question, because the plan was all along to move to a 3-4-2-1, and with Thuram and Lautaro kind of behind the lone striker, or they were going to be very fluid in that system. Now that's gone out the window, but they kind of still kind of want to play like that. with a midfielder or a Dumfries pushing up to have the three-man attack. I think it would be very reductive and very reactionary to say that Lautaro's no longer the most important player, or Lautaro's no longer the focal point of this Inter, not just by virtue of him being captain, but I think that is something to look out for. That is something to look at. That is one of the things that I'll be looking at is, okay, what Inter do we see? What kind of Inter is this? Is this an Inter that is more reliant on a different way of playing? And I think Pio Esposito is a big reason for that, because now he offers Inter a weapon, a solution that Inter did not have in their toolbox, and we saw that against Ajax as well. But I think we have to wait and see that. I don't think he's the most irreplaceable player. I still think that in order for Inter to tick, Bastoni and Calhanoglu, by virtue of their roles in this Inter side, are more important in the way that Inter attack, in the way that Inter defend, the way that Inter have a balance, and so on, from a structural point of view. But whether or not, if Lautaro is as indispensable to Inter as he was before, that remains to be seen. I think that is something we'll have to it's an interesting talking point. It's something to look at.
Yeah, one thing I think
it's too soon to say anything.
One thing I would say to answer that question is, I think that Thuram definitely has irreplaceable qualities, attributes in his game that when he isn't on the field, Inter really are lacking, and that can be a problem. And it was.
And those are, as you have said, and we have both said,
those were what you just said before. Those are
exactly
pace. Inter lack pace in their team. Inter lack depth in attack. Or
beating the man, dribble and beat the man.
Yeah, he lacks. Well, now I wouldn't say they lack height, because I think Pio Esposito is a tall guy, but crosses into the box. Lautaro's not Thuram. So you take Thuram out of that team and you have Lautaro with someone else. Yeah, I think that he brings something that Lautaro doesn't bring. So I think he's more important than Lautaro in the sense that you take Thuram out of the team, who else brings those to the team? You take Thuram out of the team, who else brings those qualities to the team? So I think in that sense, maybe he is more important than Lautaro.
I don't know. I think it's too, the traits he has. I think the dribbling, the pace, all of that combined are traits that Inter just don't have. They don't have that when he's not on the pitch. It makes them even more predictable. So it's not just a Lautaro thing; it's an Inter-structure thing, which again goes back to Beppe. Address these issues in the summer, and Luis Enrique is, I don't know what the point of him was now. Again, like I said, after they decided not to play a 3-4-2-1 and they sold Zalewski, what's the point of Luis Enrique? He doesn't get a minute. He's behind Darmian in the pecking order, for crying out loud. I mean, it's just right now, and it's like. I
Let's
don't
talk
get
about
it.
Pio Esposito.
Yeah, I want to talk about Pio Esposito because I think
you were impressed by him.
Sorry,
you were impressed by him against Ajax.
I was blown away by him. I wasn't impressed by him. I was looking forward to seeing something interesting from him, seeing if Inter are able to integrate him into the way they play by getting the best out of him. And not only did I see Inter do that, I saw him use a big guy who wins when he's back with a back against opponent's goal, wins every single time, creates space for himself without conceding free kicks. Like, that's the most important thing. He's not just big, he's also very mature in the sense that he doesn't give away he doesn't commit offensive fouls. He holds off players, they bounce off him, he creates space for himself, he turns around, and then he creates goal-scoring chances twice. Which Thuram missed by a whisker, and what led up to the second goal, where Calhanoglu's shot was blocked to the corner, and then Calhanoglu took the corner, and Thuram scored the second. This is something Inter have not had. Inter have not had a striker like that. But then when you look at his other aspects of his game, if you look at how constantly involved he was, how he wanted the ball, he doesn't shy away. And the fact that he was the player that covered the most pitch, he ran the most out of all, in more than Calhanoglu, more than any other Inter player. He ran 11.5 kilometers, which is, again, a big guy, a striker of his physique, of his, his physical stature, to run that much and be that dynamic is, again, it's just everything, I spoke about last season at Spezia, and the incredible development he had there. Because in the middle of the season, you have to remember, if you look at how he looked when the season started, he weighed 12 kilos less. And throughout the season, he put on 12 kilograms, but he didn't lose a single inch of pace. If anything, he managed to still be as dynamic, but he just became more powerful and quicker, which is just unique. And I was just so impressed.
How good can Pio Esposito become?
I think I think I've always said he's a special talent. But I think what we saw yesterday, if he can be injury-free, if he can continue to develop like this, we're talking about the starter for Italy over the next decade. We're talking about someone who, Luca Toni said a long time ago that he reminds him of him. And I think to a certain degree, we could. I think more than Luca Toni, I think Vieri for me. For me, he's more like Vieri than Luca Toni.
Okay, I think he's a bit cleaner technically than both of those players in terms of on the eye.
Yeah, he is.
Those players were better technically than actually they were given credit for. They were sometimes seen as a bit awkward on the ball, but actually they were actually both really good technically.
No, but when people make the comparison of Scamacca to Zlatan, that's exactly what they take on. Make hinge discussion about that. Big guy, but technically brilliant, right? I don't think I've seen enough technically from Esposito from Francesco Pio Esposito to make that connection to Zlatan Ibrahimovic, because Zlatan Ibrahimovic was a ballerina with his feet even at the age of 17, 18, 19, right? Pio Esposito is not quite. I've not seen anything to suggest that he is, but he is good technically. So that's why I'm saying, for me, he's more of a Vieri and Luca Toni than he is anything else. But above what he is, more than any of those players, I think, is his dynamism. That he combines his physique, his strength, his dynamism with movement. He's constantly on the move. And it doesn't harm him. It helps Inter in the press as well, because now they have a big striker who can also press, which is a very rare commodity.
So it gives Inter both ways. He can come deep and he can go in behind.
Exactly. And that's something that Inter have not had. And that's important if you're going to play with a high defensive line. That's really important, which leads me to the third positive of the night, and that was Stefan de Vrij. When de Vrij plays with Bastoni and Akanji, yesterday Inter looked much more balanced in both phases of play, despite playing with this high defensive line. De Vrij is not the quickest player in the world. He's quicker than Acerbi, but above all, his football IQ is way higher. His passing is way higher. His read of the game is way higher. In terms of where he is on the pitch and where his teammates are on the pitch, and when constructing, this is again, because Akanji has not had the greatest of starts since moving to Inter, despite being Premier League proven. But
you're going to say that every single episode.
Because it's the Premier League proven thing is the dumbest thing that has ever been said by anyone ever, and it's just I love that. But he's not had a good start since he came to Inter.
It was first said by Martin Keown in 2006 about Francesco Totti when he was linked to the Premier League, and Martin Keown said that he's not Premier League proven.
I rest my case.
Just on that note, just before you carry on, Nima, I just want to say that this is what we're recording now is free on YouTube.
And on iTunes and all that other stuff.
And on iTunes and everywhere. We're now going to come to an end to the free part of the show. So if you want to continue listening to the rest of the show, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and you can become a subscriber for just $3.99 a month, and you'll get all of our content that we do throughout the week, which includes our Monday show, our Q&A, which we do weekly, which we answer our questions from all of our patrons, and also our midweek review show, which we do after every Champions League, and if it's a Serie A midweek calendar, we do a Thursday show on that as well. So if you want to listen to the rest of this show, we'll carry on talking about Inter, and then we'll talk about the PSG versus Atalanta, and we'll talk about that crazy 4-4 between Juventus and Borussia Dortmund, and we'll preview the weekend Serie A action, including the Rome derby. Then go to patreon.com/TIFP.
Or
okay, Nima,
sign up on YouTube memberships as well. You can sign up there as well.